From Connecticut Public Radio in Hartford, this is Audacious. I'm Kyone Wolf, and this is the voice of Christina Reyes.
Okay, Thumbelina, so Santa wrote a letter to Cupid, and he said, because you've been a very good girl, you get to do a Valentine's Day sprinkle party. Go on! Go on, yeah! There you go!
I wonder, who do you think she's talking to? Her human child, or maybe her dog or cat? You'd be wrong. Christina is speaking to an 8-year-old squirrel named Thumbelina. Christina and her husband Michael became Thumbelina's caretakers, or parents, when she was just a few hours old. They are so devoted to her that when she developed severe medical needs that only one squirrel specialist could address, they moved over 1,000 miles away from their home in New York to Palm Beach, Florida. Thumbelina isn't just loved by her parents, but by more than 2 million people on social media. Today you'll meet Thumbelina's parents and other humans who care for wild animals. Later you'll meet zookeeper Chris Crow. For nearly 20 years, he was the partner to Walnut, an endangered white-naped crane. Walnut bonded to him, courted him, and selected him to be her mate. But first, let's get back to Thumbelina and her parents Christina and Michael Reyes. I asked them to tell me about the beginning of their epic life with this very special squirrel.
So my wife and I were both wildlife rehabbers, and we would typically get baby squirrels that people would find in their backyard, maybe after a storm. And typically the Humane Society will only respond for cats and dogs. So there's a whole group and community of wildlife rehabbers who kind of all specialize in their own thing. Someone does raccoons, this person does birds. So we were kind of the squirrel people. And over, probably about 2 years, we released and raised sort of dozens and dozens of little baby squirrels. And we typically, we get them anywhere from newborn to a couple weeks old. And we bottle feed them and we hang on to them until they're, big and strong enough to go outside. And typically after, maybe about 3 to 4 months is usually around when you're starting to release them. And you could see that they're super wild and they're ready to go outside. So,
and usually, not to be too presumptuous, but like you see one squirrel, you see one squirrel. They follow a certain sort of squirrelness that is expected, yeah?
Exactly. They all sort of open their eyes. So they're born blind. They open their eyes around 4 weeks old. And that's kind of important to Thumbelina's story in a minute. But anyway, it was March, which is this is in New York. We were living in New York at the time. So in March, it's still, very cold out. And we get a call from this gentleman that we met at PetSmart 6 months earlier. He knew we were we raised squirrels and, we had exchanged numbers. And I get a text message from him and he said, I just came home from work and I go in my bedroom and there's this squirrel running kind of crazy all around. He left his window open. And he sees on the bed, there's a bunch of trash. And he looks and he sees 2 little tiny, we call them pinky because they're smaller than your pinky when they're born. 2 little baby squirrels. So we deduced that they were doing construction. There's not a lot of trees around. They must have disturbed the mother's nest by accident, maybe. And the mother probably panicked, ready to give birth, sees this open window in an apartment, goes in, starts bringing some trash real quick to make a little nest on this guy's bed and gives birth on his bed. So we get the call. He gives me a call. It was March. It was freezing out. The squirrels are born completely sort of naked, no hair. There was no way that they'd be able to survive. We try to always reunite them with the mother, but it was impossible. She kept bringing stuff inside. So we had to intervene. And unfortunately, one of the baby squirrels passed away within the first 24 hours, which is very common. They're kind of, they're very fragile. So that's how we got Thumbelina. And my wife, she thinks they're adorable when they're that age. They kind of look like a little gummy bear. I could see something in her eye where it was like, I don't know, there's something different about this one.
As you spent more time raising Thumbelina and keeping track of how she was progressing, because you've been working with squirrels almost exclusively, you knew what was normal and what was not. What was different about Thumbelina from the start?
Pretty much everything from the beginning. They're born completely blind, and they usually open their eyes at around 3 to 4 weeks old. That's typically when you'll start see them squinting, their eyes starting to open them up. She opened hers at 9 weeks old, which is almost double. It's unheard of. And then, baby squirrels are rambunctious. They're always wrestling and jumping around and, exploring. And she was very cautious. She didn't like to climb. She was afraid of heights, which is obviously not a good sign already. She would prefer to just walk on the ground. So we knew everything was sort of delayed. And we thought maybe, we'll hang on to her a little bit longer, give her a little more time to kind of get that squirrel spark that we call it. But she just never got it. She was I'm just kind of here, just relaxing. I enjoy my food and my baby squirrel milk, and I just want to kind of just hang out.
In addition to her distinct personality, an uncommon personality, she also developed some medical conditions pretty early on. Can you tell me about that?
So we noticed pretty early on that she was putting on excessive weight pretty easily and quickly. So we took her to our vet in New York, who has some experience with squirrels. And after just blood work and different tests, he concluded that we found out that she actually had endometriosis and polycystic ovarian syndrome. And this would explain, the weight gain, because like human women, these conditions can cause just excessive weight gain for really no reason. And we made the decision. She had a full hysterectomy. It alleviated so much of that. Even the vet had said that, he could tell performing the surgery that she must have been in so much pain. We noticed her weight started to drop. She still kind of struggles with that because, it's still a lifelong condition. But that was sort of the first sort of medical intervention that we had with her.
How would you describe Thumbelina's personality?
A disaster. She's a disaster. She's very funny, but she's a mess. She's always falling. She's always knocking something off the table. She's wiping her mouth on things. She's not like a dainty little girl. And I think it's funnier because she's a girl, because she's just, waddling around. She's clumsy.
And not self-conscious at all.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Except maybe when you put the bikini on. She did look a little bit, not sure about it. But,
but she's also sort of sassy, she knows what she will, if she wants to do something.
If she gets mad, she'll make it know that she's mad. So we'll have to give her a bath every couple months. And when we give her that bath, she will sulk for hours, and not sulk in her normal places that she's in the cat tray. She'll go hang out in the cat chair in her bed. She will sulk out in the open where she normally wouldn't stay, so we can see her. And if we're not looking at her, she'll she wants to make it known, I'm mad.
And I want you to know it.
And I want you to know that I'm mad.
Behold my fury.
Yeah. She's got a very big personality, which we love. It makes her funny.
That's why
funny.
That's why people love her too.
Yeah.
They realize very quickly when they watch her videos that she's not a typical squirrel, and I think that's why she has become so popular and loved, is that people can see that personality through her videos. It doesn't matter if it's a 25-second video or 3-minute video. They know that that's Thumbelina. Yeah. And I think people connect to that.
Plenty of people say they would do anything for their pet, regardless of what species the pet is. But at some point, a couple of years ago, you decided to move from New York, your home, where your family is, to Florida to get Thumbelina the care that she needed. Tell me what went into that decision.
The lead up was 4 round trip driving trips to Florida.
Wait, can she not go on a plane?
No. Rodents can't fly. No.
We looked into it.
Yeah. Even if it's a hamster, they're just not allowed to fly. And the last surgery, her last major surgery, which was exactly 2 years ago, she ended up having a lot of complications, and we ended up being stuck in Florida for a month. So I think that kind of solidified that we needed to be closer. There just wasn't enough help that we could get back in New York. She had a great doctor there, but nobody that was, and Thumbelina needs a specialist. She's not,
obviously,
she's not, has normal medical issues, so,
yeah, well, so we started with, all right, we'll make the drive. On her 5th birthday, She had gotten a nut kind of stuck in her mouth, a little round hazelnut. And when we were getting it unstuck, we saw in the roof of her mouth, it looked like two teeth were growing backwards. And squirrels' teeth are always constantly growing. So they have to naturally sort of file them down. So they're always chewing on nuts. And we kind of figured out that she must have cracked a tooth, maybe biting on a nut or something. And it made, what is it called?
It turns out she chipped her tooth, and because they continuously grow, it kept on growing, but it was growing like upward into like her palate. And after looking at x-rays and things, we realized she had an odontoma, which is actually kind of common.
They're little benign tumors that grow on like the root of the tooth.
It's a bone, and it starts to sort of fill up their nasal cavity, so they can't breathe. So we knew, we had to get them out. There's very few doctors in the world that do this surgery.
It's not just like a common pull the tooth, and we could only do one at a time. So we drove to Florida, stayed there for a week or so, drove back a couple months later, drove back, did the other side, went home, fingers crossed. And then
bone fragments in her nose, and then
just tons of complications. And then she found out that she had them on the bottom one.
One bottom.
So we drove back down. And then again, eventually it turned into the final one was we were there for over a month. Finally, she got cleared to go home. And we just said, are we going to keep doing this? Are we going to feel comfortable being 18 hours away from, quote unquote, the greatest squirrel doctor in the world? Listen, if the doctor had worked in Kentucky, I've been to Kentucky, but
it's Florida.
It's still Florida. So it gave us a nice push. It gave us a nice little push, but we would have done it if it was Alaska, anywhere.
What did your friends and family in New York think when you said, hey, we're taking Thumbelina and we're moving all our stuff down to Florida?
They basically all said, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, we know you guys. Yeah, basically.
Bon voyage.
Yeah. Why'd it take so long?
That's some good friends and good family.
Yeah, no, they were super, super, super supportive. They looked at it also as a great place now to visit us and take a little vacation for themselves as well. There was never a question in their mind, like, what are you guys doing? Why would you move? For anyone who knows us,
they know.
They knew right away.
You're listening to my conversation with Michael and Christina Reyes. They're the human parents of Thumbelina, an 8-year-old squirrel born in the Bronx, now living in Palm Beach, Florida. When we get back, when people ask them why they sacrifice so much for Thumbelina, how do they respond?
Every little life is big to the one living it. Just because they're small, their life is just as important to them as ours are to us.
Then meet a man who spent nearly 20 years as the life partner to an endangered crane. What did it feel like when he realized that her behaviors were clear signs that she chose him?
It was odd, but then it was also made me feel special.
I'm Kyone Wolf. This is Audacious. Stay with me.
Though you're no bigger than my toe,
Than my toe,
than my toe,
than my toe,
than my toe.
than my toe.
Sweet Thumbelina, keep that glow,
Keep that glow.
and you'll grow, and you'll grow, and you'll grow. Thumbelina, Thumbelina, tiny little thing. Thumbelina, dance, Thumbelina, sing. Oh, Thumbelina, what's the difference if you're very small? When your heart is full of love, you're 9 feet tall.
This is Audacious. I'm Kyone Wolf, and today we're meeting people who've devoted their lives to caring for animals that don't usually like being around humans. In a bit, you'll meet a man who spent nearly 20 years as the partner to an endangered crane named Walnut. But before we get to his story, would you leave your family, friends, job, and community to move over 1,000 miles away just to take care of your pet? What if that pet was a squirrel? For Christina and Michael Reyes, the answer was absolutely no question, yes. And they aren't alone in their love for 8-year-old Thumbelina. Some of her 2 million social media followers donated almost $100,000 to help with her medical care after she developed endometriosis, tumors, and other medical problems. That is one powerful squirrel. Powered in part by sprinkle parties. On special occasions like holidays and birthdays, Thumbelina gets to climb into a giant bowl of sprinkles, shots, nonpareils, whatever you want to call them, and just roll around with joy.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. There's no better way to celebrate your birthday than by rolling in sprinkles. It's a happy birthday.
Does Thumbelina make a giant mess that her parents have to clean up? Absolutely. But do her social media followers also get to feel Thumbelina's joy and ecstasy? Totally. So how did they come up with this unique celebration for a squirrel?
I was making like this Italian dessert that I make every year around Christmas. Strufoli, which is like little honey balls that you dip in sprinkles.
It's got to be specific sprinkles. It's got to be the little nonpareils.
The little circle one.
It's like a ball pit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was making it, and then she hops on the table and she starts sticking her hand through all the sprinkles. I was like, oh my God.
She was having so much fun. So we're like, all right.
So then every year it just got bigger and bigger. And then this past 8th birthday, she had her giant sprinkle party, and we always have like a live birthday.
Oh, no, it was watermelon.
Oh, you're right. The sprinkle was just the yes.
Yeah,
Yes, you're right. I forgot. No, it was a watermelon party.
There's
That's right.
been so many.
But we do like a huge
Watermelon.
Instagram. We do a huge Instagram live and give away stuff. And the last 2 years, the sprinkle bowls have been just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It ended in one big Scrooge McDuck sprinkle swim.
In the videos that you post, you are having so much fun with her. Like, it's almost like she is an excuse for you to be creative and to be loving and for your love to manifest in this playful, sweet, innocent way with this squirrel that has such an interesting character. Like, you can tell she experiences joy, you know, like you can see that she's with you on it. And so I wonder to what degree being Thumbelina's, and do you call yourself her parents, her caretakers, her parents?
Parents.
Mom and dad.
Mom and dad. To what degree do you think being Thumbelina's parents, having known her since she was hours old, has made you into more fun, living in the moment people, like absurd, ridiculous people? Like, how are you different now than before you met Thumbelina?
We've had so many ups and downs with hers, I think, that they kind of make you appreciate more the ups. The very first surgery that we had was the hysterectomy, and we freaked out so much that I think after that, it kind of every even just little thing that she did, even if it was sprinkles, where I've been finding sprinkles 5 months later after that, still behind this or under that.
It's like glitter.
And, you know, Christina kind of just puts your hand on you and it's like, just let her enjoy it. And I think that's been sort of our attitude towards everything and just in other stuff in our life too. It's just like we've been through so much with her that we kind of just, even big, you know, things that aren't related to her, it's just kind of leveled it kind of out.
Christina, would you agree?
Yeah. And I think I can't because I'm going to cry because I'm like, this is why I can't do these interviews because I always cry. I think just having her so tiny and having her go through so many things that like when she's happy, when she's playing in sprinkles, when she like wants to go, you know, in the closet and just explore, like it makes all those things more special. You know, just I get happy to see her come out of her cat tree and, you know, just want to come out for breakfast because like she's just been through so much that when she's, you know, happy and when she's healthy and when we can let her do all the things that she wants to do, we're so happy to do it. You know, like I'd rather than anything else in the world come home and spend time with her because I want her to be happy. I mean, just to go sit in the window. Like she cannot wait to sit in it's cloudy today, so she's going to be mad. But, you know, she can't wait for me to get home just to put her in the window and for her to just lay out, you know? So
that was another great reason because in New York, we were only getting a couple months of sun, like on our side of the building in our apartment.
She will roast herself. She'll be like, she does not care. Yeah, she loves
basking in the sun.
She loves it. I'm like, it's 100 degrees. Like I'm hot. Like we need to get away from this window. And she's just like that.
I know you from watching your videos for the last couple months, and I get the sense that like, in terms of a partnership, in terms of your relationship, it seems like your Venn diagrams overlap in terms of the playfulness and the devotion to this animal who is part of your family, which to me makes me think that you with each other are also playful, with each other are also devoted. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's probably the reason why, we got together, why once we met, we kind of knew pretty quickly.
And we very much bonded on our love of animals.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Like, what we're going to do today? Let's go to the park. Let's, the trunk's
We'll
always
get some
filled with
cracked
snacks.
corn for the geese,
Yeah.
and we'll get, this for
We
that
talked to
animal.
all of them. Like, we just.
Before we were married, a couple of years before we got Thumbelina, we spent our honeymoon volunteering at a wildlife sanctuary in Costa Rica for 3 weeks. So our honeymoon was waking up at 7 a.m. to, clean out the animal stalls, because we knew then we got to work with the monkeys and with the sloths, and we got to work with the vet who was rehabbing this. So like that was our honeymoon. And again, people around us were like, yeah, that makes sense. But like, so normal people wouldn't think like, you want to work at a wildlife sanctuary for your honeymoon? I was like, yeah, that's amazing.
We couldn't wait.
Yeah.
I know that Thumbelina, of course, communicates with you in 1,000 different ways, but if Thumbelina could talk, what do you think she would tell me about you?
I think she would say, Mommy's always hugging me and kissing me, and sometimes it's a lot, but I think she would, I think deep down, she'd sometimes pretend like she doesn't, but I think she'd be thankful that we found her.
Yeah, she at night, I'll take her out of her little bed and I put her in a little donut as I've been like staying with her, especially when she doesn't feel well. And she likes when some part of my hand is touching her or something's touching her. And like, she will, she'll sometimes be like, if I take her out, but the second I put her down, she takes her little feet and she'll like hold my hands, like grab my hands with her little feet. And that's how she falls asleep. Or like I've woken up in the middle of the night, like 1 o'clock in the morning, and she'll be totally like in her like sleep mode, like her eyes are closed and she'll just be grooming me, which is the cutest thing ever. It's like, how can I be, upset for her waking me up at 1 a.m. when it's just like to be nice. So I think she secretly loves it when I steal her.
Do you feel like you've done enough as her parents?
I don't know. I never feel like it's enough. I think of every day as a new day to give her the best day ever and to make her happy, whether it's playing or sitting in the sun or just snuggling or, letting her steal an extra snack or two and pretending I didn't see it. So yeah, I just feel like every day there's just something more that I can do for her because I love her so much. I want every single day that she has to be her best day.
What have been some responses to her online that have surprised you?
Unfortunately, she does get some hate. She honestly will get like body shamed.
Yeah.
I'll even get private messages like, she's so fat, you have to stop feeding her, like you're going to kill her. But I'll literally just give them the facts. I'll be like, actually, she kind of suffers from endometriosis. And then the people like automatically like, either they'll say like, oh, I'm so sorry, or I didn't think you'd read this.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, but then why would you say it if you didn't think I was even going to read it?
But we also have had people that that maybe they didn't read her whole backstory and they realize she's got polycystic ovarian syndrome or endometriosis. A lot of women that they're like, oh my God, I have that. Like, I understand, my first years having it were terrible. And yes, like I have trouble losing weight and it's, it's a battle. And so we also have a lot of people that are like, wow, I totally relate to her so much more now.
Yeah, I had endometriosis and a hysterectomy. And when I read that about her, I was like, it's my girl.
Yeah.
I see you.
Yeah.
So I think that was something that we never expected with, the response from people and whatever. They see a video of her getting a snack and they think like that's all we feed her when they don't realize like, that's the one time a day that she gets a snack or whatever. So it's been just a good lesson, I think, for people to kind of not judge, jump to judgment.
Or judge just based on appearance or one little video.
It sounds corny and, like after school special, but it really worked. It plays out exactly like that.
Well, I've asked everything I planned on. Is there anything else that you want to make sure that you say before we go?
Every little life is big to the one living it.
I don't know why that makes me emotional.
Every time I say it.
Because I just feel like, there's a lot of times when people are it's just a squirrel. And to her, it's her whole life, it's her whole life. And we love her more than anything. She's our whole life. So, she might be tiny, but she can love and she can be sad and she can be happy. And like, it's all she has, So I think, and it's important to us because we are wildlife rehabbers.
People are like, oh, why do you care about a small little squirrel or whatever? And
or
it's
just
like
any animal.
Their life is just as important.
Yeah. Who are we to decide, which...
just because they're small, their life is just as important to them as ours are to us. Every little life is big to the one living it.
While she is your baby, it sounds like she has been an enormous teacher to the two of you. Like, unlike, and I know you've gotten close, you've had squirrels you really care about before. Am I right?
Oh, 100%. Spent every day with her for 8 years. Christina sometimes tells Thumbelina that she gave birth to her.
Don't put that in.
That she had not that she gave, but like a stalk brought her, and Christina had to carry her. She's taught us to just appreciate every day. It's a good day. The sun's shining, even if it's not. Still, as long as we're together.
Every day is a good day to throw yourself into a bowl of sprinkles.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
Don't worry about the mess. That's the thing.
Yeah.
She's having fun.
You can always clean it up.
You can always clean it up. But look at how much fun she's having, right? It's worth it. It's worth it.
And it gets on us too. And so on behalf of all who have enjoyed the love that you've shared with Thumbelina and the play and the fun and the care, the ups and downs, thank you for sharing that with us so we can be a part of it and we can feel it too because it matters. So thank you both. Thanks to Thumbelina.
Thank you. Thank you for spreading her story.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate it.
After the break, Walnut was a white-naped crane who chose Chris Crow to be her human life partner for nearly 20 years. How does he think she would have described him?
Probably thought I was cute, kind, and probably thought I was a good dancer, even though I wasn't compared to her.
Their one-of-a-kind love story is coming up next. I'm Kyone Wolf. This is Audacious. Stay tuned.
When all I ever meant to do was to keep you, my crane wife, my crane wife, my crane wife.
This is Audacious. I'm Kyone Wolf. Walnut, a white-naped crane, was known for so many things. Her particular species is endangered, so she was one of only 5,000 in the world. She also had a mean streak. She was violent toward male cranes. But she was most well known for her almost 20-year partnership with a human birdkeeper named Chris Crow. Walnut hatched in 1981 at the International Crane Foundation in Wisconsin. In 2004, she was transferred to the Smithsonian's National Zoo and Conservation Biology Institute's campus in Front Royal, Virginia. That's where Chris works as a bird keeper. There were lots more resources available to take care of her there, and they were able to use artificial insemination to help her reproduce. Remember, her species was endangered. Chris describes that process coming up. Walnut's life expectancy as a bird living in captivity was 15 years. But she died at the age of 42 on January 2nd, 2024. I spoke with Chris 5 months after her death and asked him to explain how she compared to all the other cranes he'd known.
The other birds, since the first time they saw me, they were a bit wary, standoffish. But she walked right up like, who are you? What are you doing in my space? Why are you still here? I want you to leave. So she was just very fearless and not put off at all. Very bold, confident bird.
So what were you doing anywhere near Walnut?
I came here in 2004. I had previous crane experience with whooping cranes in captivity, and I was tasked with being the primary caretaker for, back then it was probably 20 cranes and a bunch of waterfowl. So I was just going in first thing to check on all of them, get eyes on all of them, make sure they're okay, that there's no issues, that they're alert, they're not hiding, they're not injured, and make sure throughout the day they're okay and they have everything they need to live comfortably in captivity.
So, what drew you towards being around birds in the first place?
My parents, I was always interested in animals, and birds were a very easy thing to see in a suburban Maryland where I grew up. And we did take care of, we kidnapped some fledgling birds, not knowing any better, and hand raised them. So that helped. And I was actually very interested in wolves as well as a kid, and then just more drawn to endangered species. And a lot of birds are endangered. And then I just I got an internship at Patuxent Refuge in Maryland that at the time was raising whooping cranes. And that kind of got me hooked on cranes.
Will you describe Walnut for us? What did she look like?
She's about 4 feet tall, very long, sharp bill, long neck, long legs, long pink legs. So the only crane species that has pink legs. Mainly gray. Most of her body is gray. There's white on the face and down the back of the neck. That's why they're white-naped cranes. And the gray comes up kind of on the side of the neck with white on the front and the back. And then they have red skin around their eyes, bare red skin. That she had orange eyes, kind of a yellowish tan bill, and over her ear she had gray feathers over the ear. So very graceful, demonstrative, big, impressive bird.
Yeah, it sounds like she expressed herself fully at all times. She also was known for being quite violent.
Yeah. If she didn't like people or other cranes, I mean, she let them know. She does all sorts of vocalizations and body postures, letting everyone, bird, person, mammal, everybody know how she feels. And because she was hand raised by people, she just didn't get along with other cranes. She was bonded with people. Allegedly, when they tried to pair her with male cranes, she attacked them and killed them. So when she came here, we weren't going to try any of that. We kept her well apart from other cranes.
So, what was the moment like when you realized, oh, I'm her mate?
It was odd. It started with her. She would start doing courtship dancing. She would bob her head, raise and lower her head, and run around me in a circle and flap her wings. I thought, oh, this is neat. She wants to dance. She wants to, be friends. So I would try and mimic it as I'd seen the other birds do, bob my head and flap my arms as if they were wings. And then one day when breeding season started, she did all that. And then she turned her back, lowered her head, spread her wings, which is a solicitation posture, which I'd seen other female cranes do with their male crane partners. So when she did that, I was like, oh, this is new. I guess she views me as her mate now.
How did you like that? How did that feel?
It was odd, but then it was also made me feel special, kind of an honor, and then that gave us the idea that, oh, this is a behavior we can work with when we do artificial insemination. We might no longer have to grab her, which is, it's a very brief handling, but they don't like being caught or held. So then when I mentioned it to my coworkers and my boss, it was suggested, well, maybe if this continues, we can work with this and give her a better life and have the artificial insemination go smoothly and be more, consensual, if that's the right word.
And so you did. Had you ever done anything like that before? And what was it like for you?
No, I've never done anything like that before. It was a slow process. She would do the solicitation posture, but then if I stepped toward her, she would move away. And then I would stop, and then over time she would start dancing again. And eventually it progressed where I would reach my hand out to her and touch her, and she would move away. And I would never follow her. It would occur at her own pace. I would give her verbal praise, and I would toss her a treat. She really liked young mice, fuzzy mice, we call them. And then gradually over time, she would stand still and let me do the whole procedure. And she was increasingly hostile towards everybody else at that point. So we were clearly bonded, and and the other keepers wouldn't go in with her because she would attack.
When you would do the artificial insemination, how did that feel emotionally?
I mean, it was definitely special and definitely a strong bond that was unique just between me and her. So I mean, it definitely felt special, and that she, accepted me and trusted me and liked me enough. So there's definitely a special honorific aspect to it for sure.
When you were becoming closer with Walnut and kind of achieving these milestones of connection and bonding with her, what were your friends and family feeling or thinking or saying about this relationship?
A lot of jokes, I think.
Like what?
If I was, had a day off, does Walnut know where you are? Is she checking in on you? Or if I was talking to a female colleague, does Walnut know? Is she going to be jealous? Or even if I was with other cranes, people would say, "Oh, does she know you're cheating on her? You're taking care of another crane." And I think, my family was supportive. I think there was just a recognition that I've always been pretty good with animals, just, because I think I'm calm and open-minded and patient. There was kind of a recognition that I have some sort of skill or some sort of bond with her that's to her benefit and to my benefit.
What did people get wrong about what you were doing with her?
Some people were confused by what artificial insemination is for a bird. And for the female, it basically involves what we call a manual massage, just massaging your hands along her lower back, which is where the male would be balancing when they're mating, and then massaging below her cloaca, which is where the semen sample would go in and where the egg comes out. All their reproductive apparatuses are inside. It's all internal. So I think people had trouble imagining what it detailed. And some people thought, confused her situation with her species as a whole. So, no wonder they're endangered. They don't know how to breed with other cranes, which is not, it's a unique situation to her. It's not species wide. They're endangered because of habitat loss.
So was the artificial insemination successful?
Yeah, she had 8 chicks, she wouldn't have had without it. So yeah, it was very, very beneficial.
How did that feel when you saw those 8 eggs?
Great. I mean, we put the eggs in another pair's nest. It would have been too much for her to incubate and raise, and I didn't want to have to sit on eggs or, be with her 24/7.
You've done enough, Chris.
Right. Yeah, but yeah, it was very rewarding to see the chicks be hatched and grow up well, and unlike her, have the life they're supposed to, other than being in captivity. They were raised by other cranes, and they grew up to be paired with other cranes and reproduce naturally and have chicks of their own. We still have one of her, I think her first daughter, Brenda, and she's paired with Eddie. It's Brenda and Eddie, and they've had 5 chicks of their own. And we still have the last one. Most of them get sent out to other zoos for breeding. So we have her daughter and her granddaughter still here with us.
Since you spent so much time with Walnut, did you ever feel kind of like you were reading each other's minds?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, since our communication was essentially nonverbal, even though I spoke and she spoke, it wasn't the same language. It was almost a deeper connection, just relying on your instinct and the vibes you're getting and body language. And yeah, there were times where we would give her we would take her eggs away, but we would leave her with a dummy egg so she could sit on it for a while if that's what she wanted to do. And when I would come in the pen, she would stand up and she would look at me, and I would just know she wants a break. And I would go to the nest and she would go walk off and go bathe in the stream and stuff like that. And there's a lot of instances, even when she didn't have an egg, there'd be times when I was just hanging out with her and she would just give me a look, and I would know she wants me to follow her. She wants to go to this other area. And she must have reciprocated that since she trusted me, and she would act very calm around me. The coolest thing was she would always act do normal behavior next to me, whereas other animals, they would stop and they would be influenced by me being there. But she would preen her feathers next to me. And the coolest thing was she would actually sleep a few feet. She'd tuck her head into the back of her, on her back between her wings, and she would close her eyes and sleep. And that was very, trustful, obviously, that she would do that. So that was very cool.
Was she funny?
Yeah, I mean, her responses to stuff were funny, and she was very, always dancing and joyful and not afraid of new things. So if you put an empty bucket in her pen, she would run over and pick at it and knock it over and have fun with it. So she seemed to enjoy life, and just the way she acted around me and other people. Yeah, it was funny.
Is it okay to talk about the end of her life?
Sure.
She became sick rather quickly in January of 2024. Yeah?
Yeah.
Can you tell me what happened?
She ultimately, we learned she had kidney failure. Hold on 1 second. So it was pretty quick over a couple days. She wasn't acting normal. All right, hold on.
It's okay.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. Take your time.
So I first noticed with her behavior, she wasn't as joyful, wasn't as comfortable around me. She would come up, and then she would walk away. It was clear. It was clear she wanted to be alone, and with that, her appetite declined. She wasn't eating or drinking enough, and it turned out to be because her kidneys were failing. So it was quick. It was maybe 2 days from the onset of knowing something was wrong. Obviously, her body was failing. The kidneys were wreaking havoc, but other than that, it was peaceful. She was on oxygen, and then she was taken off, and then she passed.
I'm so sorry, Chris.
Thanks.
You were together for nearly 20 years.
Yeah.
And we're recording this conversation about 5 months after she died. I can't imagine what it was like for you to lose her in the first place, but I also know you got so much media attention before her death and then after. And I'm so grateful that you're talking with me. How have you been able to live with the grief that you've been feeling? How do you take care of yourself?
It's a challenge. It's a work in progress. But I think that talking with you is helpful for me and to honor her. I feel obligated, to speak about her when. So yeah, it's certainly a challenge, but that's life.
Do you ever dream about her?
I do. Yeah. I do dream about her as if I'm still taking care of her. Nothing special, but as if she's still here and I'm still taking care of her.
I wonder how the love that you created with her, that was only between the two of you, that was something that only you two could have created. I wonder how that love that you lived with for nearly 20 years has informed the way that you love others, be it other animals, other human animals, yourself. I want to hear how she formed your idea of what love is for you.
One of the key things is just accepting differences that are, they're just differences, things you have to live with that are annoying or different or challenges. But, if it's worth it, you work through it to a point. Just being patient and open-minded and being there. A lot of times when I was hanging out with her, I'd just be standing there and she'd just be standing there. And it was cool. Didn't need anything from each other other than, I'm here, you're here. And constant communication, one way or another, checking in, being nice just to be nice. Yeah, so hopefully it'll translate to others.
Because you knew her better than anybody, I wonder if I had been able to talk to her and ask her what she thinks about you, what do you think Walnut would say about you and who you are?
Probably thought I was cute, was kind, and provided what she needed, was attentive, and probably thought I was a good dancer, even though I wasn't compared to her. Her coordination far exceeded mine. A much prettier voice than me, but she probably thought my voice was okay.
I love thinking about alternate timelines, what could have been, how I would have been different if this happened, if this didn't happen. So in that spirit, I wonder if you'd never met Walnut, how do you suspect, because I know you don't really know for sure, how you'd be different?
I would feel less purpose in life. I kind of felt she gave me a great, unique purpose. I would know less about cranes. I mean, I've been able to translate what I learned from her to take better care of the other birds and understand them better. That's not the same, but I can tell what's going on, what they're thinking most of the time. Not as well with Walnut, but I can meet their needs better. And, the attention it got kind of validated my career choice, which I wouldn't have had that. Everything I saw was supportive or appreciative or funny. So I guess, less joy, less purpose, less understanding of myself and cranes.
You mentioned that Walnut had 8 chicks and that you'd been around Brenda and Eddie who've continued growing their families. I wonder what it feels like for you to be around Walnut's DNA, her progeny.
It's cool. It's rewarding. It shows what our bond, the good our bond did for the species. I mean, it's totally different relationship. She's used to me, but she's still wary, and she's a crane that's bonded to other cranes. So it's cool to see that because she's having a better life than Walnut did because I wasn't with her 24/7. And then her granddaughter is, she's only 2, so she's starting to act more like an adult and do some courtship stuff with the male next to her. So it's cool to see that, her legacy lives on and our bond and our work endures. Yeah.
Well, Chris Crow, I'm so sorry for your loss, and thank you so much for talking with me.
Thank you for your interest in the story. Thank you.
You can find more information about Chris and his work with Walnut at the Smithsonian's National Zoo and Conservation Biology Institute, and you can see pictures of today's guests, including Thumbelina, at ctpublic.org/audacious. This show is always lovingly produced by Jessica Severin DeMartinez, Meg Fitzgerald, Robin Doyon Aitken, and Meg Dalton at Connecticut Public Radio in Hartford. Special thanks to Bria Lloyd for her help with today's show. If you like this episode, check out the one we did about uncommon emotional support animals, like pigeons, sugar gliders, and pigs. And hear a conversation with Peter Kaestner, who became the first person to see over 10,000 bird species. And you can hear from Jack Perch, an 8-year-old from Connecticut who led a memorial service for a beloved egret. You can hear them all at ctpublic.org/audacious or wherever you get your podcasts. Stay in touch with me on the socials at Kyone Wolf, and you can always send an email to audacious@ctpublic.org. Thanks for listening.